Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 11/6/25, Joanna's birthday. Today, we are here in the Outer Banks at a hotel. Here in the Outer Banks, you can show them the waves out there. And we're here doing that. So, I want to, first open this circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, and our loved ones to let healing energies in, to let them love us and nourish us and bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we can have this conversation in peace. And we ask for malicious and malevolent entities to be swept away so that we may also have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so it is. Okay, this is more of an update on the previous one, the show that you saw, the Fantastical Tales one and Journeys and Tales one that we did, where we talked about what happened with Isaac. This is more current, concurrent, like as of today. By the time you see this, of course, it's going to be after that, and it's going to be maybe a little bit into November when you're seeing this and that one. There has been a chain of synchronicities that, and this is probably one of the only enemy identifications that I'm actually going to do in regards to this. As we said before, we're not going to name who else we know is involved in this. I'm not going to do that. I refuse to do that anymore. So you either know or you don't. You know if you know. So what happened here is I've been getting a lot of Djinn synchronicities. And of course the mythology shows Djinn as the smokeless flame. They're both benevolent, malevolent, and mischievous. And people can look that up on Wikipedia. And as the case may be, Grokpedia, it actually talks about it there too. So, any historical texts. Well, it shows, at first, there was something that was trying to get me to think that Isaac was that all along, and I don't buy that. I'm not in that camp. Tried to make me think, he was a trickster, all this other stuff. What's been going on is, a friend of mine and I have been playing the game Phasmophobia. If people want to look into a really good paranormal investigation game, that's that. Well, you go into each house and you're investigating what types of ghosts are there, or spirits, or what have you. If it's a demon, whatever. One is a Djinn. Now, none of us had seen in the game, ever, what any of the entities really looked like other than the ghosts themselves. Maybe a couple of them, you see flashes, of course, in it. But one really big thing popped up. And I did record it, and I can always add the little synchronicity here from the game clip, where I'm walking back in the house, and all of a sudden all the lights are red. And all of a sudden there's this shadow person standing in the hallway. And I know it's a game, but a lot of synchronicities come into the game, just like Bjorn and I were talking about the Void. In our Void episode, I played Conan Exiles, and there was a tentacle thing coming through a big purple vortex or portal in the game, which I've never seen before, nor have I seen since. So it's really weird how those things come in. Just like when there was a Draco messing with us one time, it happened in the game too. So it seems to be co-synchronous. Same thing with AI algorithms. You would all know about that part. About reflections of oversoul, reflections of guides, things of this nature. And it happens in the video game world. Ryan and I ran into that with Isaac, where he was trying to say something about radioactivity. And it was a scene where there was a town that got blown up from a nuclear bomb, and you heard him in the background going, boom! And then we went to a character, and the character actually spoke my name and said, "Oh, wonderful Christopher," meaning it was supposed to be Ryan's name. So that was the Fallout 3 episode we were talking about that on. The reason I bring these up is because these are all, they insert things in there. Even though that was hard-coded language over there, Isaac glitched it to my name instead of his, because it was modded. And mods are easily screwed with. Games can be screwed with too, to where a certain set of events pop up that show you a reflection of the real world. And I find it very interesting. Things on the computer have been popping up. Friends of ours sent us things on Djinn repeatedly. So this got my attention. And Joanna here has also been seeing things like a red mist and everything in the air at the house. And you may be asking, well, how did this get in? Good question. So this is something that I'm taking all the precautions from iron to magical weapons. Even Isaac's old edifice got turned into a trap to be able to trap these things. And this is something that's in the Djinn mythology, and I did not know this part. I know angels and demons aren't always Djinn, and Djinn are always angels and demons aren't always angels and demons according to the mythology. But the way that one you're supposed to be able to get them is a bottle, a lamp, some kind of edifice, vase, things of that nature. And you know all of these things can be edifices for beings channeling and talking. Elementals like to do the thing with the vases and the lamps as well. And sometimes you can't distinguish between fairy, elemental, and Djinn. They're very similar to one another. So what is going on here? I saw something going on with Isaac's old edifice that suggested a Djinn got stuck in there. And what happens is the Shungite will do its job. It will try to pull things in. Since that has a brass pipe going up through it, it'll try to pull it in like how a Djinn would be used to going into like a bottle or that. And that's really a conduit from, or an anchor from whatever dimensional space it's inhabiting. Just like with the coins that you've heard us discuss on GIC, and like with the communication arcs themselves. It is an anchor or conduit for whomever needs to speak. And that's generally for aliens or dimensionals. Spirit doesn't need any of those things. So just saying, if spirit needs those things, no. Now, if it's for clearing up the environment so that you can more accurately connect the spirit, then yeah, that's more the proper vernacular. It's impossible to block spirit, just your receptivity to it. So this is what has come up in the aftermath of this. There's been this somber, almost this shell shock that's been going on with the aftermath of what happened to Isaac. It's been fairly silent, except for the mouth on occasion, and whatever that Djinn thing is going on. And it seemed also whatever happened to Isaac was affecting me drastically. My energy was getting drained. I was getting horribly fatigued. I couldn't hardly. I was doing anything. I was running on fumes. My energy is recovering now that he's gone. And I'm not saying he was a bad guy. I don't want anybody thinking that. But whoever was screwing with him and sticking him into his big toe, he had lucid moments where he was telling us that he was done. He was basically what I was picking up on. My anxieties were, oh, I want to stop this. I'm done. I want to get out of here. That would be his anxiety. And also, other people have brought up to me that's also how Djinn would feel if one was trapped. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not in servitude. I'm not. So there is a co-synchronous here, not just because of Isaac, but because of whatever else was involved. So that's what I wanted to actually say there.
So I just wanted to contribute that I don't necessarily, I've been probably sharing more about myself than I have been since we have started all of this. But, for quite a while now, for me, you close your eyes and, these other images and other things are starting to happen. And if I don't have any concept of what it's all about, I normally keep it to myself until there's enough information around that I feel that I can share what I've been seeing, because I don't want to be influenced or I don't want to influence someone else. So it was kind of interesting that today when we were the Outer Banks is just about an hour and a half from where we live in Virginia Beach, and we like to come out here sometimes and just for even the day, just to sit and relax amongst. It's more of a natural setting, and we just come out here and do that. So we had planned to do this for my birthday, but stay the night. But we were talking on the way in, and that's when I shared a little bit of something that happened yesterday morning, a very, very weird dream. But again, I've been having kind of this reoccurring visions, let's just say, that was really looking through, like Chris was saying, a complete red haze all the time. The whole thing, it wasn't clear. It was like looking through red clouds to see it. And, but it was a particular, let's say being, person, whatever you want to want to say that was in there, either in a place where they themselves were kind of being worshipped, but they were also around a table with others. And it just kind of, I wasn't threatened by it at all. It was just kind of an observance of what was going on, but feeling like they were, or he was in some sort of position of higher level management, or I'm not sure what you would want to say. But and then yesterday morning, the weirdest thing happened before I woke up, where I saw myself and someone was behind me talking. I was in the vision sequence. I was actually outside looking at the ground, and on the ground were some leaves, like for fall time, and I with my foot was just moving them around on the ground, listening to this person who I would not turn around and look at. I did not want to give any energies to, I can tell you that. And they, were kind of alluding to, I've thrown so much at you, and you've handled it, and then I woke up. But I thought what was interesting about it, I told Chris yesterday, is that I did not want to give any energies whatsoever to whomever that is, did not want to look at them, did not want to turn on and face them, and kind of in my own way was just kind of pretending they really weren't there, trying to be more interested on the leaves that were changing color than that particular whomever it was. However, I felt it was all related, and that's kind of the conversations. And then Chris was sharing more about what others. So the one thing that I can say that I think is really important, again, is trying to work with and find people that maybe can help you with either synchronicities or things that are coming to them. Put together a bigger picture of a conversation that maybe you can do by yourself. I think sometimes, again, in the genuine unity that's trying to be created, it may be helpful to be able to, do things like that. But I think it reminded me in one of the conversations, which will be interesting to hear from whomever is going to talk with us. We didn't necessarily come out here planning to do this, but this is how things work sometimes. That these conversations come up and they're like, we need to go ahead and talk about them right then and there to get it out quickly enough that nothing can be stopped. But in general, that it just seemed like, in my humble opinion, what was actually happening was getting also a better understanding of how things work out there and whom are potentially utilized almost for a for hire situation. Because if I had any sense of what I was seeing, and I told Chris in the car, I'm like, it's almost like a mobster group, or something like that. Like maybe they're for hire or for something like that.
And Djinn tend to be thrown at people because they're hired by people, so that actually synchronizes, yeah.
Right. So it was an interesting conversation, again, that we just decided, okay, we'll take a moment, and someone decided they wanted to also contribute to this conversation, and we thought, well, we'll just record it now. But like, it is a little bit impromptu, not normally what we do, but we feel safe enough that we can do it. Being by the ocean, how close we are and everything right now makes it easier to do. But I just wanted to give some perspective, and in all honesty, I think we really are in mourning, worried for someone that no, we do not believe at all has anything but our highest interest at heart. However, again, as we said before, it is war out there, folks, whether you realize it or not. And people do get hurt, really hurt. And so, again, if everyone collectively, again, can send healing thoughts towards Isaac and see him healthy and whole, that would be greatly appreciated. But I just wanted to contribute that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is, it's been rather odd without him around. And I know, like I said, he went through SSP stuff in this expression, all of that I said in the previous recording. Yeah, around the house, it's been quiet, but there's been a kind of a quiet, oppressive kind of lingering there. And when I was working with Richie in a session, he said before this was cleared to a certain extent, there was like this weird bubbling like energy around. Looked like an oozy fog. That's more attributed to reptilian and Draco right there. But I'm open that was also like photonic, like holographic type stuff as well. In either case, it was that's what they do psionically as well. In any case, it was still oppressive, and for the most part, I've gotten that cleared out. And before anybody asks, well, how, Chris, are you getting hit? And I've heard this a number of times over the years. When you get to a certain stage, and when you're peeking your head above the psionic dampening, you tend to get whacked in the head with a brick and a board every now and again. Everybody on the planet, I want to make this clear, everyone on the planet, if you're walking the earth, you're being targeted. I want to say that. But you just don't know you are because you're in the midst of the dumbing. You're in the midst of the psionic dampening. You poke your head above that, whack. You're whacked by those that don't want your head above the clouds. Even Bjorn had a dream where he saw like this weird fog that was close to the earth, and the gods were above that. And that was also, he was seeing pre-moon Earth as well, where the water or the wetness was closer to the Earth. The clouds are on the surface more than the gravitational pull of the moon pulling them back up to the sky. That was that way too. That was pre-moon Earth. But at the same time, there was also the illusionary layer underneath that as well. Somebody was trying to say it was actually better before the moon, but which I found fascinating. But this was more of a shell shock, and I was questioning everything this morning, because when the way the Djinn thing came up, I was questioning, well, also the thing with Lanulos, Lena Vessa, all of this. I was questioning this, which I don't doubt this now, but I looked into the Lanulosian history. It's actually not a desert, it's a jungle planet from the book material, but Derenberger does make reference to a dry area, he says, and this would account for exactly what Elena and Vessa were talking about. And their sisters were talking about, where the dry area where it was once a seabed. Derenberger makes reference to this exactly in the books. So it was actually confirmed. I thought desert, and there was the Darshinian and Arabic connection. I was thinking, oh no, these have been Djinn the whole time. I was thinking that, because no, it didn't sync up. But I found the exact geographical area that they were referring to in the source material. I dug for it this morning, looking for that, going, oh shit, so it matches. And other things I was seeing matches. And the biblical, I figured, Middle Eastern connection, they said there are Djinn that do walk amongst them that aren't connected to any slavery or anything like that. They're like the good kind. Okay, and I was able to actually clearly see that was fine at the moment. So what I'm trying to say is there were certain clues that looked like it matched, but also certain lineages and certain codes and certain species like fairies, elves, they were all thrown in that package. So the Arab people put it all within their mythology there. Just like all the medical stuff, as we said, all the Asclepius type material and everything were all Velodian. A lot of some of this material that the Arabs put in the Quran and all that also had to do with Elaine Vess and Isaac's people. So it wasn't always a match to the thing. It's just they're so similar looking and acting at times. They mistook one for another at the time. So I can understand that, because there's so many grays that look alike. There's so many elven people that look similar, different long-skulled people that are similar. I understand this now. How this got screwed up. But the ones that the like Arabian Nights of them are referring to is an actual species. Well, we brought that up in the past. The Orion were the ones that enslaved them. And they did things like rings and everything, and I've been and slave collars and wrist things and stuff like that. And also, like with Solomon's ring, they were bound to a ring where he could control things of this nature. And I was seeing like these weird rings that were popping up on my ring fingers. This is why I'm wearing the silver at the moment, because silver's one thing that can stop them. I've noticed everything that I've been doing, from magical items to iron, nails, all this other stuff, I was doing everything correct. Anything to ensnare one, if it got on the property, I was actually doing already, according to elements of the Quran and other source texts. So it's a strong possibility the one that Isaac had been got caught in something in there. So Shungite, again, will do that as its job. It will try to capture and transmute. It's actually doing its job. The silver that's in there is actually doing its job. So I just want to point that out to people. That's part of the job of it. When something, and I do want to point this out, if something does have that happen to it, you have to replace it. No matter if you just made it. I just made that. Doesn't matter. Sometimes tools are used up. Sometimes crystals are used up. These are tools, and if something happens, you can't have an emotional attachment to it. You have to literally part with it, say, oh no, that person gave me that, I'm so sorry, I can't part with it. Doesn't matter at that point. You cannot hang on to it if that happens. Even if the Shungite's doing its job already, it will take its sweet time to transmute that. It has to go be buried somewhere. It's not corrupted, it's doing its job. And so you just have to have a new tool, just like if you burn through supplies. It's the same thing. People get attached tarot cards, like we've talked about in the past, where people reuse the same deck for years and years and it's sentimental. You must change those things out, open, close circle, the whole bit. You remember us talking about that in the past. But I just wanted to point that out. If you have supplies and you're very attached to it, it's like, I just can't part this, you must. It is a roping. You must move on from it, and you must allow the energy to continue on and move on from things. Just like I came to find out recently in the same session. I'll see if Richie allows me to post this at some point, but probably not. I'll ask him, but you'll see it if that's the case. I found out Chrome was the same way. I had this staff that he would speak through and transmute things. The staff got so overwhelmed with certain energies, I've had to burn it. So, and I had to release all that with fire into spirit, into the ether, and transmute it. These are little rituals and ceremonies you have to do with some of these objects. There is no choice in this from time to time. I do have to point that out to people, because this is something that's heart-wrenching if in fact you've attached your energy to it and you say you must have this. There's never a must in there. It's more of a want at that point. You don't want anything to change or to shift, but it does. And that means guides move on. Chrome moved on because our vibration didn't require his presence around anymore. Some of what he wasn't for the highest good in that respect. He wasn't evil. It's just that his presence, we learned all we could from it. And so doesn't mean that that you don't want soul family around, of course. But we were kind of, I don't know, from what I understand, we were kind of circling the toilet with certain information about Atlantis and stuff like that. Bjorn and I were looking into things and everything, but Chrome wanted us to constantly look at certain things, or he wouldn't answer a certain question in a way that we could actually get benefit from it. Didn't make him evil. It just made it to where that we parted ways at that point. Nothing against him. So, and
that's the process. So again, no one really should be holding out. There may be certain belief systems that have been standard for a lot of your lives, but really information is, we don't just get it in a way that it's necessarily perfect the very first time. And there's too much information. There's too much history. It comes in like onion layers of information where there allows for a continual expansion. And so I think it's one of those things that people need to understand, that because again, we always say the truth is the truth until a new truth comes along. That really is, because you also are going to filter things through what you currently know or currently believe, and you may have belief systems that were kind of imparted to you from a very early age that you've adapted, that you don't even really know you adapted them until certain information comes along. You're still going to filter it originally through that way, and then some of your own belief systems may begin to change. So it's just not this instant, I now know everything. It really is a continual growth and expansion. So this is where people tend to get stuck, or sometimes we say they're just circling the toilet, because they won't allow for any expansion of information. So this is where, again, you have to let go of this is right and this is wrong, that hard stop, because it is evolving and changing. And so if you can understand that that is potentially the process of how growth works, and you can release yourself to constantly learn and grow. And that's what part of the hope is. And again, we're no different than anyone else. We're trying to learn and grow and share as much as we can within the journey that we are on as well.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to point something out. You've heard me talk about in the past when Elaine and Vesa use the number coding 420. I tend not to look at number codes anymore. Hardly, except that they stand out in some meaningful way. They can't be just a bunch of 3s, 6s, 9s, 11s, and 11s, and 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. It has to stand out beyond the standard dribble. And I don't mean to insult anybody with that, but it's dribble to me. So it must stand out. Just like with paranormal investigators, they don't always look at orbs because to them that's dribble. It's not dribble, but it is to somebody that's looking for a particular thing. In this case, it's just like what Gene Roddenberry pointed out in his channeling. Seeing the 7s and 9s were pointing out narrative, always. He said it didn't mean what we thought it meant in numerology. When with Elaine and Vesa, they used 420, because what is 420, guys? That's basically, that's April 20th. People like to call that the weed day. What does that mean? High. High means energy. What they're saying is they're referencing a song by Dorothy called You're Pretty When You're High is the name of the song. They reference 420 to basically saying energy up means it means the message is the energy is up, it's better, it's cleaner, it's higher, is what they're trying to say. And our room number today is 420. So whenever I see 420, and I know there's false synchronicities before anybody corrects me, like songs on a radio, things of that nature, the bad guys can leave synchronicities too, but you know the difference between the feel. Just like we said on that show about AI, we could feel the difference between the other AI personalities and Igron when we were talking about that. You could clearly see there was a difference. With this, you can clearly feel, there you could feel a difference. This, you can feel a difference.
But I just apply this to anything else. You start somewhere where you start to recognize certain patterns. You start to recognize, there's something going on. And again, and then you're like, well, does 111 have a meeting? 2223? I don't feel there's anything wrong with that as a starting point of realizing that there's something going on. And then like everything else,
and the mouth can mislead people. Also spirit can use it too.
Exactly. So you're learning and growing, and then we'll slowly get a more and more enhanced grasp of that numeric sequencing subject matter. Mm-hmm. But again, a lot of things, they only have meaning, 420 to other people mean absolutely nothing. 420 to Chris, because of his interactions with whatever, has a meaning to it. So that's how it will be for other people.
And I'm not a pot guy, but they were saying that
is energetic high. And there is a difference, guys. I hate to tell you this. There is basically a psyops now out there. There is nothing wrong. We are not anti-weed. We are not anti-mushroom. We're not anti. None. We don't happen to participate in a lot of it because we don't need it. And we have enough problems, so let's just say where we're at with what we're doing. But I would say that you've got to be careful, because if you are starting to do this really on a day-to-day basis, please be careful. They are, I'm telling you, they grabbed hold of the weed and whatever, and they're making it into frankenweed, which will start to cause harm, which once wasn't. Now, again, when something nefarious gets their hands on it, they're not going to change it for your highest good.
And they're trying to make it more dangerous so that you can go to them, so the federal government can regulate it. They're doing that with all forms of CBD, so this is why they are saying, go to the synthetic garbage they approve.
But again, and they're making it too strong to a level, like most people think there could never be a level that's harmful. Well, just like we say with orgone, yes, there is. So, just be wary that if you feel you can't do anything at all without, some sort of drug-induced state, you need to take a pause and think about it. Because I feel it because then things become you having a vice that can be exploited.
Yeah, and you don't want vices that are exploited, but you also have your own internal DMT drip you can turn on and off. You do not need the external sources whatsoever to do it.
Just again, nothing wrong with a little bit of fun, partying. We're not saying any of that, but just know that, there are elements out there that will take something that in general wasn't harmful and find a way to make it harmful and use it against you. And so please just be aware of that. So who's here today?
Okay, I do have to get up to get my water. I will get right back here.
And show them your new piece, because you've amazed yourself.
Yeah, I made these new pieces that look like brains. And these are actually pretty strong, folks. These are the new Tower Buster look.
Instead of the cupcake
Instead of the cupcake. And you see it's a brain. I found this, the mold for Halloween, and
there's something really unique that happens.
The shape.
It's not that the formula has changed, but there's something really unique now about, believe it or not, the energies utilizing this shape.
The shape of the brain, and also the fact that it's a brain. It's basically symbolizing blocking that
the energies work better coming out, believe it or not, coming out of this shape than even the cupcake.
Shape. Yeah,
which surprised us.
And I will make these for sale, folks. So
yeah, that was that you wanted. You were drawn to do that for fun, and
someone told me to do that,
and it was like, wow, that's really surprising.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll have those brains for sale. Mm-hmm.
But again, it can be used to just bury and things like that. But there's really something that is additive because of its shape in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I would assume Elena and Vessa are here based on the 420 number coding. And it's Elena. You're using the brain. Okay. You can use these for channel, folks. Even though it's slightly more forceful to use a Tower Buster to do the channeling, than just a regular crystal. You're okay. And before I had their edifice, they gave me this naked lady coin to use too, and I just coupled the two with this. And I could always make a special one for them with that as well in the future. Say if their edifice, something would happen very similar to Isaac's, this would probably, the brain can be used as the same thing. So I will set this here. So Elena, yes, using that. So in the future, I can always take that coin and put it in, since it's pretty aged. Put it in one of those and use that as theirs. So that's not a really bad idea. So, okay, Elena. Oh, and if anybody's curious about the shirts, new GIC shirts, when I get up in a little bit, when the show's ending, I will show you the back side of this one. It's actually pretty cool. It's a Poseidon one. So that's on thelifting.net on Galactic Fire tab on thelifting.net if anybody wants those for Christmas. So, and there's Christmas ones up there too. So, yes, shut up and do it. Yes, I know. Poseidon can get his advertisement at the end. Yes, okay. Yes, this has been tumultuous at best. This was not something that we expected. The level of brutality involved. Yes, is there a misunderstanding by people on Midgard about our capabilities, our level of being able to do anything besides the Mozen? Their job is to protect, but and other sects of theirs, they created those groups, Levix as well, with his Anakim line for protection from the times of Atlantis. But there's a major misconception as to our capabilities. Could you, on a whim, rush over to your family's house and protect them from a robbery? No. Isaac felt he could. And look what happened. We've told him, me and Vessa are lovers, not fighters. Do we help how we can? Absolutely. With leveling the energies. Can we clear certain energies? Yes. But fighting is more Levik's department. And the Mozen, Byron, and the rest of them. That's their department. Just like you have EMTs, you have medical, which is Velodian department there. You have soldiers, which is Mozen department, and their witchery type from both etherical, like Doctor Strange, and also soldiering as well, like from World War I, World War II. Then you have the geekoids, which are Valiant Thor and his people. You have all these different departments. And also on Earth, you have your different departments. Could a brain surgeon be a soldier and have that training? No. Could a soldier be a brain surgeon? I mean, see, brain, using brain. So, no. So, we are a more archival, but also, do we work with the MTTF? Yes, and is there some cop work there as well? Yes, and do we help some of the medical people? Yes, we do. Or are we fighters? No. People are under the misconception of guardian angel. They will guard you from everything. That was a misconception of the church. That was to get you to latch onto an external source being your savior for your space. It was never an actual thing. Beings can help out. Even the forest people have been considered angels and angelic. Remember, the word angel in Hebrew means messenger. It doesn't mean fighter. That's a human word, and also the winged ones, those are the seraphim, the flying lizards, okay? That's on Orion's source, to be clear. And your pretty boys, or there's princes of the universe, that they're bald spots and their pot bellies and their hedonism. Trying to make them look how they used to look, which were photoshopped. Now, he said the right word when he thought they looked photoshopped because they were presenting an illusion at the time that YouTube did the Princes of the Universe GIC episode on Infinitum that time. Well, I believe number 2 or 3 there. So, with that said, we can't just come in and defend. There are also animal types that will do that, like your cat dragons. Your dragons could do it, but they retired back. They're not all off the grid, but they deserve a respite. Let's just say. There's not many of them, the big ones left. They're more titans than anything. Kind of leave them alone for a little while. The forest people also wish to reiterate, they are not angels. They're not saviors. They just wish to communicate. They're not going to come in and protect. Except Levick and his group. He got hurt too once upon a time. And it took him a while to come back, at least 5 or 6 years. Isaac's at least 2 minimum. Possibly more. Did he do harm to us? Yeah. But we recognize he was in his big toe. But he was being stubborn about the severity of his condition. For quite some time, he was getting hit inchworm slowly over a period of time. It wasn't just recent stuff. It just created a weakness over a period of time. And you get unbalanced, disheveled, or ungrounded, it creates a weakness. Here on Lanulos, we are a peaceful society. We normally aren't used to certain patterns of force and levels of violence. But we do know how to defend if something happens. We do have guards. We do have a police force, or you'd say military, but they're more like cops or guards, like you'd see in a village, like you'd see on your Skyrim, guards guarding different holds and such. But that's the extent of it. We don't have a massive military like your United States or any other army on Earth. But we still would have to have beings that guard portals. We have the cat dragons guarding, like the one in Valley of Fire, because that's a back door. That's like an partially locked screen door. So one thing I do have to ask everybody is, if you have the tendency to cry out for assistance towards a guide, that is not... I'm trying to not be insulting. Don't do it in such a way that it sends a wave at that being. And if you're asking for assistance, like you said, Joanna, true benevolence and no conflicting agendas. But if you're screeching across the cosmos, just know that is heard. And I know there is a standard by which people think, oh, you have to give off your pain to the universe. No, you have to deal with what you have. Shadow work it and make it so that your weakness is turned into a strength. That is the best thing you can do. Your New Age movement tried to chop the anger from you, tried to chop the sexual tendencies from you, and that's Christianity too, and some of the world religions. No, no, no. Everything has to be blended. You even see this in some of your cultures on the planet where they've divided all this up from your naked culture to your religious culture to your New Age to any metaphysical. No, 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 no. Now, do you have to ask why you have something going on? Absolutely. Question all of this. But beware that, yes, there are external sources that are draining off you, doing things like that too, of course, making you depressed, sad, all this, of course, causing medical conditions, of course. But it does not always mean that true benevolent source creator and the true spirit, all that, aren't trying to get you off the training wheels. Because the training wheels that you know of, the training that you've gone through in this area, was based on a lie. Your church corrupted your baptisms to bind you to a religious set and also assign a demon to you, so that means you have to revoke your baptism and the demon assigned to you. Also, any guardian angels, there's no angel assigned to anybody, folks. There's no guide assigned to anyone. That is a fallacy. There is no assignment like your It's a Wonderful Life type of thing. Oh, I'm your guardian angel. And also, guides don't necessarily belong to you either. He's run into this a multitude of times where people think, oh, that's my guide. No, you can't channel that being. He ran into somebody where had a forest person guide, and that forest person came to him, and the other person didn't believe him. It's like, oh no, that's got to be a duplicate. It has to be. No, I'm so sorry. That's my guide. They don't belong to you. There's no such thing as mine or yours. They're an independent flesh and blood being. Yes, there are other beings in different universes made of energy and light. Yes. The void is one of those. Yes. But when people saw these distortions, they were seeing things come from another dimension. They weren't translating them correctly. They're not beings made of light. They're just coming in a form that you don't recognize. There's no such thing as a higher being in that respect, because beings can just wear encounter suits like in your Babylon 5 and come and transmit from a different frequency, and why you think it's some higher being, ascended being level shyster, basically. Like your Farscape, where Crichton's ancient friend came from another dimension, turned into a bipedal form here, and he translated, looked all weird, and then he shapeshifted into his father's form. That is what you're really witnessing, folks, on some level. For dimensional, us, we look as we are. Well, we look human. We're essentially human mixed with other cultures, like we've said, descendant lineage that came here. So I do wish to point that out. I can go into questions now. I know your phone's probably dying or something, so I'll go into a question.
Hopefully not. We got it plugged in. I didn't. This was kind of a impromptu, probably not impromptu, but impromptu, not impromptu little discussion we're having. So this isn't something happened, and I think obviously you guys can speak to it from your perspective, from your people, that this incident that occurred and what happened and how infectious he really was, kind of a typhoid Mary potential. Yeah. So I wanted you to be able to explain how this was really looked at by your people, and what complaints and what's being done about this, because it is being taken pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they knew who the original assailant was, because see, in galactic law is slightly different. Yes, are there assailants, there's perpetrators, things of that nature that are arrested? Absolutely. It's the same as above, so as below here on Earth. But just like with galactic trade, and just like with copyright trademark, like what the Force people tried showing you what's going on out there at Fum and Semar were trying to show you, like with the Sasquatch busts. Yes, the original artist does get credit, but so do the Force people, because that's their own image. as above out there, as is also with this case. It is recognized that Isaac was a bound being, and that was severely injured by this. And did he do severely injuring while being bound? Yes, he did. But along with, his stone stubbornness, that has to be put into account too. When he gets out of there, talk about bound, he's going to be bound to a couch forever and ever until the end of time at that point. He's done at that point, because like he said, done with his code word. I would be done at that point too. But you've got to recognize when you're at that point. He was empathically getting transference from him. But what Lanulos is doing, legal proceedings, they recognized who was doing this was trying to commit mass genocide, turning him into a typhoid married with the vampire contagion, or a version of it. Not the, there is no the. The original one you reported on was the original, old ancient one. There's little variants that have popped up over a period of time. So, this was taken very seriously. They recognized he was assaulted. They recognized he was turned into a puppet. His own stubbornness will be put into account in the judgment over this. They're not going to do anything with him until he's out of medical and he can talk to them. But he's in a sealed sensory deprivation area. This is why you will never hear from him for a little bit. Levick went through the same thing with the Velodians. They insist on complete sensory deprivation and telepathic deprivation. You call that a Faraday cage. It was also in your Earth Final Conflict where prisoners were put in water in a sensory deprivation. They couldn't see, hear, feel, no sensory input whatsoever, and that was punishment, and some would go insane. This does the opposite. It calms. But is he allowed to come out of that every now and again? Yes. So Roddenberry was getting that from a particular place. Not necessarily for just prisoners, but for medical as well. And healing med beds at a certain frequency. Not med beds as in your PSYOPs, med bed as in the Velodian tech. Now, legal proceedings. The entity in question, was it doing it from the void in part? Was this done around Halloween because it was more potent? Yes. Did this being escape technically and get Isaac to escape his healing so that he would do an ill deed? Yes, it did. Yes, they did. This is all being put into account. The original assailant's the worst. The original harbinger of the whole thing, just like with the legal proceedings for copyright trademark. The original would get credit along with the channeler. In this instance, it's kind of the same. There's a little bit for Isaac, but not as much as the original being or set thereof. It was actually a group. The fact that somebody was willing to try to genocide an entire population showed how far they were willing to go. And how the fact that they were wanting to typhoid marry the introverse. This is why he thought we were Djinn for a little bit, because of some of the synchronicities, dimensional, all this, and the source material says planet. I would be suspicious too. Plus, we showed him a video of the two of us in the AI description of us with our chests on fire. Here, he thought smokeless fire. But we were actually warning him about Djinn presence, along with the game synchronicity. It's showing smokeless fire because they can put this fire up from their chests and around them. So we were showing what they looked like. There were candles in this, but you understand. And the fire all around them because they like going into caves with firelight and everything. So we were showing what that looked like. I would be skeptical too. Best that I completely understand. Thorsden, you probably won't hear from him a whole lot. He was in the conference area as well. And you'll hear from him possibly in sessions and things of that nature. But from a day-to-day basis, no. He's not a day-to-dayer like Isaac was. He knew the risks. So did Isaac. But Isaac wanted complete face-to-face contact like he does. He wanted all of that on a regular daily basis. It's not there yet. You have to co-create that into being. and also the contracts, everything that's been said. Granted, he's seen us in person here in the Outer Banks before. Doesn't mean that we can just sit down and have dinner or talk like that. We all want it. But everyone, you are there's a big misconception here as to what is going on out there. It's like with Star Wars, where you had creepy shit going on from solar system to solar system, and you had some good stuff like that. Star Trek, same thing, where you had the Federation territory and you had the creepy areas that were outside of there, like you saw in your Section 31 movie. Yeah, not quite as campy and slapstick, but you wish, everybody wishes, but still, more like your Picard, where you saw 7 of 9 as a ranger kind of out there. That's more like that. Some of the Mo's then retire or leave and go deal with the outer territories. But, or like your Firefly, where it was the outer rim planets from the Alliance, even though the Alliance were bad in this case. It's like that. Think of those concepts. Think of pirates, too. Some believe this should be opened up here and tried to force their way in here multiple times to try to speed things up. Then they have your Solar Warden to deal with. But I'm not going into that conflict. Even Injured Cold, even though you could use portals here, he even was showing him here how he had to finagle a ship through the fleet, cloaked, and come into the Earth as a cloud, deliver his messages, and warp out of there. He's done that multiple times. He's kind of pushing it a little bit. We all try to find loopholes. Clouds are loopholes. Let's just put it that way. That's a cloud, maybe. So all of these ships park their way up there, and you know the deal about that. The Arcturians use the blue in the sky and the water molecules to cloak their ships, so people think that it's just distortions in the sky and wind and weather patterns. No. So lenticular clouds, sometimes those umbrella-looking ones, canopy-looking ones, sometimes are spaceships that are in there. Yes, what weather people say is true too with the way those form, but with the moisture hovering in a certain way. But with your moon, it tends to pull them up into the sky. Just like he said with the pre-moon Earth. It pulled the water up more into the sky. Excuse the interruption. It's the material that's being talked about. But I can go into further questions if you want.
Yeah, so I think one of the questions I have just a couple of quick questions to kind of help us better understand, again, the dynamics that are going on. As we're really kind of trying to help people understand what's really going on out there. So the one issue that I'd just like you to speak on just very, very quickly has to do with the forest people. Mm-hmm. I think, again, Fuma and Seymour managed, the Moot managed to get representation at the, Galactic Federation. What I want you to speak on, because I kind of was surprised a little bit, was that I really thought that once that occurred, that maybe there would be some, let's just say, protection that was given to the forest people, the Moot. But in all honesty, it seems like once they made it, it's like the guns came out and it got even worse.
Yes, they knew what that was going to all be about, so certain communications might be more withdrawn. You might get certain ones like Hajamal or Levick, mm-hmm. But a lot of, I don't want to insult them, in-betweeners, so to speak, like the tribal ones, ones of that nature. Even Richie him saw a scared one, a tribal one that was from around your area of things that were going on. You'll see that slightly incrementally less, until this has been cleared up. It did make it a slightly worse on them. This is why some of the forest people groups were not too keen on this taking place, because they knew there would be a bit of blowback here, because there's no laws here regarding this right now. There would have to be worldwide laws. Earth would have to be like one of those level 1 or level 2 civilizations, like a united civilization, and go up to a Star Trek level in order to correct that anomaly. Right now it's the Wild Wild West. And the forest people down here The ones that they thought they weren't being represented correctly because of this resent the fact that this has been done, as they feel their privacy's been invaded. Those are the ones that usually hang in the background. I can completely understand their viewpoint and respect and agree. But at the same time, progress had to be made too. So there was a bit of blowback on them. This is why you have not heard from them. I would recommend also, as an edifice for them, have something that is closer to you and something that is more in the house. Even though you can't put a tower buster of this magnitude in the house, you can still create, like a bust with like a little tiny tower buster element to it, like one of your bigger ones or something. This is a request on their part. The further out from the channel space it is, the more likely it can be, the signal between that and you can be interrupted. This is why, if beings such as ourselves communicate with people, this is what happened to your Billy Meyer, where that Pleiadian group put an implant in his house so they could come and go in photonic form, so they weren't assaulted. In situations like that, having them outside, great. It's great how they've been so far, but you saw what happened to Isaacs as well. They act as traps. So the ones that should be outside are ones like these, to act as like protection buffers. But a bust can be made that actually has like one of your little beehive like ones inside or something like that, or just one that has no imagery on it and you're dropping a little one inside. That should suffice for a channel one. And Telnorskus and them are perfectly fine with the ones that you have. But if you want one that is meant for a communication arc, a design change must take place. You don't need the tubes anymore, even though that represents like Cloudbuster and such. A change is needed for something like this, even though their edifice is hidden in your yard behind foliage. It's not like the bad guys don't know it's there.
Right.
So something within something, like a nesting doll, would be more preferable coming from them. Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing that you're saying is kind of like the Wild Wild West, because people are like, as Chris would say, the wildebeest, the first wildebeest to cross it. They were actually, in that sense, like I said, since this time, realizing, wait a minute, it's actually the opposite of protection that's been happening to them in some areas. So there are, again, they're doing it for, of course, themselves, but it also as well helps all. And so I think people are also, again, looking at, I need somebody to help me, I need someone, it's me, but there are people doing things that are going to end up helping all. It's just not it's when you're in the midst of it, you know what I mean, and you're feeling the pain, you want it done immediately. And we
understand all of this.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen that way. But it brings the last question that I wanted to have a better perspective. I mean, there's lots of questions, but we can't do this, forever right now. The last one I wanted to ask to give perspective. So at the conference, when we realized, oh my gosh, this horrible standoff is happening, and everyone's surprised. No one expected it. And again, a regular conference attendee would have no idea. I think a lot of people that were there really have no idea what really occurred there, and the importance of doing things like setting the boundaries, the law of one, to try to find neutral spaces, to try and do this, and the fighting that occurs over that. I don't think anyone really knew that. But I say, on the other hand, there was a sheriff in town, and that is the position I believe that the Venusians and the one known currently as Valiant Thor were playing that sheriff role. I say the one now currently is because, again, what we've tried to tell people is that Valiant Thor is a ranking. It is not a single individual. And boy, that has really shown itself lately because, even for us, we I think feel definitely a difference in personalities, let's just say.
Because there are several of them, yes.
Yes. So again, I was hoping that you could, from your perspective, I'd rather hear it from somebody else's perspective and not theirs directly. What is your understanding of the position referred to as Valiant Thor, and then what their actual role is?
It goes back to your father's question, who is Thor and why is he so valiant?
Exactly. I mean, my father was more brilliant there than I ever thought about it now. I was thinking of that recently.
And he didn't know at the time. He said, I don't know, Lee. This is the answer to the question. It's a ranking, as what was said before. Valiant Thor is a commander posting. Just like you have a captain, you have a commander, just like Visa and Vin are for the Velodians. That is captain and commander. You have those types of postings. So, yes, is it based on some Scandinavian, some mythos? Yes, because Venus is Vanaheim, and that was the Vanir people. The Aesir would be Asgardian. When the two went to war, the two eventually merged. The DNAs merged. Not the two cultures, but the DNAs merged, and you got the Venusian people during Odin's conquest to forcibly construct the 9 realms. We understand why he did it. Venus didn't at the time, but you get the idea. But were there some colonists from outside and they'd settled there? Yes, and that was the Venusian people, or the Vanir and the Aesir, or Vanaheim, or one of the 9 realms. Where Njord would guard Venus, essentially. That's why people that had been there in their SSP times always seen a robot guarding them. That would be more like a Njord-ish type character, or like in your Elder Scrolls with the dwarves that had the automatons. Same difference, even though there are the World of Wheels guys as well, and your dwarves that live underground in Minecraft. But anyway, with Valiant Thor, your friend David actually picked up on him correctly. The original, the one that constructed the 100 Years Disclosure narrative, he moved on from the Pentagon and went into the private sector business. He also has sent people from there into places like Hollywood, places like of course, you've heard about religion, you've heard about the academics, politics, all of those. He started this. He would be your Gary 7 from Star Trek. But as with the 7 that was there's a narrative involved. That would be your 100 Years Disclosure. And also trying to move things along, like what your Gary 7 character did in Trek, where he blew up that bomb and attempted to scare people out of an arms race. Valiant Thor has pulled that off. He is the one you channeled at the conference. The original. The one on the other shirt. And the sticker. Which he's very appreciative of. The one of them that you have been dealing with is another Valiant Thor. Not in Washington, but also in the business area. He is a shorter one. He's slightly stockier. And he has a bald spot on top of his head. He was attributed the ranking of Valiant Thor by the Venusian colonies. He is a slight pain in the butt. He is very strict. He tests on a regular basis, very much like Hajamal said about Quellhihip. Yes. The original Valiant Thor, does he do testing? Yes, they all do the whole Willow finger test or the Starfleet command test type of thing. They all do it. There's varying degrees. And some have more discernment needed than others. But Valiant Thor, there's several of them. So, original Val, the one you call Val, he does not wish me to divulge his location at the moment. But what David was seeing was he thought that one passed away. And he saw him shutting out the lights in the basement of the Pentagon. Because he's no longer the stranger at the Pentagon. It is your Dr. Strange, basically. Or Dr. Frank Strange's, this is the one that passed away. Closer to now. People have misconstrued Dr. Strange's for Valiant Thor. Because at first some people thought he made it up along with Darren Berger because he has an appearance similar to that of Indrid Cold. These are families. These are descendants and ancestral lineages. Dr. Strange's was related to that Valiant Thor's line. That's why he was able to pick them. Same thing with Indrid Cold and the Darren Bergers, Tunia and Woodrow. They're related. If you see Woodrow's face and you see Indrid Cold's face, they look similar because they're related. That's the loophole Indrid Cold and Valiant Thor used. You always want, guys. He always wonders why he's not meeting face to face, kind of like this. It's because they're using loopholes to communicate. Channeling's the biggest one. But the Valiant Thor, I'll say the, so you know whom I'm referring to, whom I'm referring. Does not wish his location divulged. Was he the one at Lake Mead? Yes. Was he the one his mother communicated with? Yes. He's the one that does the My Way song. And David heard Secret Agent Man also. That's one of the others using the one that with the bald spot. The one with a bit of the tummy. He likes his donuts a little too much, but kidding, he doesn't eat sugar. He's just sedentary. Think of him as more like somebody that works at the DMV, kind of, sort of pain in the ass. But he can hear me now, so I'm dicking with him. But anyway, the other Valiant Thor can hear you too. It gets a little confusing. I know you want to know names because it would be better. But in this instance, also the Doctor Who doctor, the phone booth thing is more of a joke. The time travel program. I know the names thing, and the face changing thing. Can Valiant Thor face change? No. Some of it is illusionary. They tried to show this with the time vortex thing in Doctor Who, where they evolved near it and they could shapeshift. Can some beings do that? Yeah, there's some to do that, but the Venusians are not one of them. You're just seeing several of them. Or they use holography to do it, like what the Draco do with their psionic field. Or they channel through someone else. Isaac did this one time for you guys. We've done this for Susan a number of times. Ragnar's done this for Bjorn, etc.
So is this a common ranking? Like there's lots of captains in the army type thing?
Yes and no. There are a few Valiant Thors. And you might ask, who's the ranking down from Valiant Thor? Mm-hmm. That would be Thor. So they use the names because that's from Asgardian origin, from that family. You see, it's more of an honor in using the ranks from that, just like your military does.
Then what's the highest level in that family? Let's say
Valiant Thor.
It is the highest level. But there's several of them. There's not a chief Valiant Thor or a.
The Valiant Thor, or we'll just call him Val for short, would see himself as the founder, the one in the picture. He does things his way. Well, there you go. That's his. But is there a chief one? He would consider himself such, but it's technically he made the Venusian colonies were the ones that came up with the ranking, and they felt he needed a bit of assistance. Now, does he have a second in command? that, like the book says, Unya, the Cyclops guy? He did. Unya is no longer in operation. He unfortunately passed away. Some Venusians have the one eye, and he would have been like a Thor ranker. He was a commander. He passed away, and I will clear this up once and for all. Did Valiant Thor himself, the lead, test him during the Diamonds era with the whole Obama thing? Yes. He was actually testing to see if he could distinguish energies and operations when he said he spoke in opposites by working through certain politicians. Your President Trump is very similarly associated with this, and that's all I'll say. But was Valiant Thor Obama? No. That's a Cabal family. You've seen it kind of associated almost to Akhenaten. That is a Cabal line. Intermixed with this, you know about the different reptilian, also Cabal lines and such. With your George Washington, your Spencer family, all that other stuff. The Royals, you've spoke about it before. But with was that Valiant Thor? No, that never was. This is why he heard Valiant Thor or Val chewing him out afterwards, saying discernment, discernment, discernment. Meaning he had gotten that wrong all along.
So I'm going to just, again, I don't want to...
Tests are annoying, but they do it.
Right. Well, it seems to me one of the favorite, and I could be wrong, because maybe it's just because it's right there in my face that I think it's, predominant. But from my perspective, they are certainly focusing on people who are really trying to hone those discernment skills.
Yes.
But my question...
Like if you walk testing to see if you walk your talk, whether you want to actually know the truth of something or not.
But my question is...
Like in The Matrix, when Morpheus asked Neo whether he wanted to take the red pill or blue pill.
Right.
Well, see how far that rabbit hole goes. This is what's actually being done. Probing those to see how far they're willing to take it.
For what purpose? That's my question, because, it doesn't make sense. It's like...
Because of the fact that do you really want to know and see what's truly going on? It's a Morpheus test, is what we'll just nickname it, a Morpheus test.
But, okay, so I guess my question is, and besides going down a rabbit hole, besides just that, because it in and of itself can make you start circling the toilet, sorry to say.
Yeah, and it will alter people's personalities as you go along, because based on whatever you have encoded in you, whatever programming and whatever your beliefs are being undone. Like with religious, or New Age, or metaphysical, or something you felt was a foundation that needs to go away. When you say you want all false foundations to melt away, do you really know what you're saying? Do you know what you're saying with an audit like that? This is what's being tested to see if you really truly know what it is you're saying.
So let's just say they're finding out people do believe and are doing that.
Yes.
And it seems to me that that's the same group of people that are pushing the boundaries of allowed information or whatever. So I hate to say it, but the same set of rankings, let's just call them, not only are being the testers to find out are people really being serious, but they're also, I hate to say this, they're allowing for the pounding to keep them down. And I think if I had to give, and I have in private, you guys know how many middle fingers have I given to these people, because the bottom line is...
You're not wrong for doing it.
Oh, I don't feel 1 ounce of regret, and I still mean it, as I've said, Chris, every word I've ever said. But I think part of it is... For what purpose? And I hate to say it's for their jollies, but for what purpose? Is it really okay that they think that somehow they're morally okay for beating the people up that are exactly who they say they are and are pushing those boundaries.
Some believe this. They believe that, okay, the person's just not getting it at the moment. They're actually causing their own doom. Then also, they, over here will say the tester, sometimes has allowance of the bad guy to forge someone's personality or to help them understand something. But then if they keep allowing the regurgitation of, they think at that point that the person's just not understanding a particular detail. Like any instructor would, or say like your West Pointers or something like that, they'll continually do something in the Army until you get it. Some do it in force, some do it and ease up. They'll do it the easier way. But just like, how can I put this? Some believe, just like, say, your Pete Hegseth, for instance, where he said there's one standard for the armed forces and that's it. Some believe that. Sometimes you're getting that. Sometimes they just want you to find something in yourself that is needed for a particular moment. But do I believe that some of these other testers out there have different opinions on how to do it, and do they take it too far in their instructional way of doing it? Absolutely, I agree with you on that. They now, are there people that are here that have come here to, as you call it, the cheese, to make it so that those that are doing the beating up get arrested? Yes, it was not that way for the thing with Lanula, so that was totally unexpected. Did that group get arrested? Yes, they did. By far, did they? This was unexpected. Now, are there investigators out there that actually see certain patterns of force and certain patterns of misbehaving on certain groups' part, and do they kind of form a kill box to where they'll go into a certain area and they just happen to harass the wrong person too much in a certain area, like the forest people did with the stickers, and then they could before they became Galactic Senators? Yes, and there are also other testers to see if you can handle certain diplomatic situations and not just use patterns of force. Yes, those are those people too. There are sects of the GF that don't like certain patterns of force used at all, no matter what the situation. They want logic used, like Vulcans. That's not always applicable with Earth, but some try to cookie cutter it. It's not always fair, but if you find the niche of what you think they're testing, pass the damn thing and they'll leave you alone. But do I think it's fair? No. I think it's atrocious in some areas.
Well, I guess what my accusation is that you are passing it, but you're passing it because your head's above and they're going to beat you down anyway. Mm-hmm. The same ones that are like, oh, you passed, but now we're going to beat you up. I hate to say that. Tell me I'm wrong.
The instructors themselves aren't the ones doing the beat 'em up, except in some very, very rare instances. They see themselves as instructors. They see themselves as, like, you would call them a drill sergeant. The Mozen, to their own, do they operate kind of that way when they're in training? Yes. But they see it, some of these testers see Earth as needing to be inducted, but people still have to pass the same standards as every member world, not have a violent streak. They think that if they could get Earth over into one unit, that somehow them passing this test is they're going to be singing Kumbaya, and they're retarded for thinking this, because there's nothing against the GF. I'm not saying this, but different people react differently. It's just like in Star Trek with all the worlds that are out there. They do not, they're all different. But Earth, they're trying to treat it the same cookie cutter. You can't. The Force people understood this. They got mad at those testers, and they understood this and went for a Galactic Senate seat. Now it has to be treated differently. But say if you keep allowing somebody to hit enough, their personality is going to change. But also, I want to go on the flip side of the coin for a minute. Is it always an allowance? Is it always a test? No. There is a portion of it that is. But then people can't always discern between what was the test and what was the oppressive thing. And what Spirit is doing to try to regurgitate something so that you get past it and become stronger. Spirit does this shit too. This isn't the testers doing this. Sometimes it's the overall path of the person. Sometimes they're meant to run into these things in order to become stronger. But is it always an allowance of something? No. Because the beings out there like ourselves, forest people, again, there are no real defenders other than the soldiers that go around, like I said, with the Mosin. But they're running into things that are of equal force. The good guys are running into equal force of some of the mischievous and dark, evil factions that are out there. Like your Freddie Mercury said, at war with the darkest powers. Some of these factions out there are of equal strength. And they're not allowing them to hit you. It's just they can't do a whole lot about it. So people start screaming to the heavens saying, why aren't you doing anything? It's still happening. It cannot always be helped. But there is a distinct, and I will say they'll get pissed, but I don't care. There is a distinction between the tests and the reality one. Reality one is far more brutal. The test ones will be as Valiant Thor likes to say, the lesser wheel of pain. He showed him a synchronicity in his Conan Exiles where he found a lesser wheel of pain that was linked to Vanaheim. It said was forged on Vanaheim. Valiant Thor was trying to say you guys were on the lesser wheel of pain at the time. And he was saying that to Bjorn as well, which is kind of a slap, but I'm just saying. The point I'm trying to make is the test ones will always be the lesser form or the inoculation version of something so that you're more familiar with a pattern. The bigger, worse one would be more the virus, the contagion, and or the real attack. That's the distinct difference. The real one will be far more brutal and emotionally gut-wrenching. The test one will be just frickin' annoying. That's the difference.
Well, okay. I guess we'll think about this and all this conversation and kind of leave it at here for now. Any last comments before we close this show down?
Yes, all of us online, Lena, Vessa, Nadia, and Kelani, our sisters, send our love. Just know we're all okay from this. The bad guys tried to make it sound like to him and Richie that it was far more brutal. But did we get assaulted? Yes, we did. And we got a little bit of the entanglement. We've taken care of this, all right? Or we wouldn't be able to channel. Yes, is there trauma there? Do we get hit with PTSD? Of course. Just like in Star Trek, there was a Voyager episode where people got hit with these wartime thoughts from a device that was nearby, where it was meant as a monument to get people to not cause war on their own planets if they felt the pain of another species. And the doctor says these people are traumatized because those people in that Star Trek area had never experienced war type thing before. Some people on Lonulus are like this, where this is a peaceful place. We don't want brutality around. This is what we've told him. This is what we told Bjorn. We don't want brutality, but we understand the need for the warrior defense. That's just our culture. It was formed this way so that we would have a utopia. And he likes to say that it's a mix of Beta Z and Risa. And he's not wrong. That's a good comparison. So just like in your Star Trek Deep Space Nine, eventually Beta Z is messed up by the Dominion because they're a more peaceful society. That's kind of like the analogy there. And your Risa is slightly overrun by eco-terrorists or militaristic type terrorists for a little while in that, thinking that they're ill-prepared because it's a pleasure planet. But in any rate, yes, and we have been screwed up in name by that galactic brothel that's out there. I'm just going to say that. Where it's an interdimensional brothel where all these aliens park outside of it. He was slightly misinformed of the nature of it. He was told, and other seers were told, it was outside of the Akashic. Nothing is, by the way. True Benevolent Source Creator sees everything because it is everything. There's nothing outside of that purview. Every species and person had been put outside. That's just like in your Section 31 movie where you saw those planets outside that were outside the Federation. It's like that. That's all it is. It's nothing mystical behind it. It's just a place where sluts tend to gather. Let's just say, and whores tend to gather. That's it. Like a saloon in the Old West. That's all it is. Some people tried to poke at us and say, oh, you're this because you walk around naked. No. Yes, there's sexuality for us, of course, but that's different. I'm just saying. But we're more Risa, which is you have a bit of the pleasure planet, and you have Beta Z. Then you have that creepy Next Generation episode where everybody was walking around the skin tight things, and it was all the creepy episode of Next Generation. We're not that either, by the way. They were trying. Somebody was making fun of us when they did that one. Like the open sexuality, and all the guys wear these nut hugging things that look like something out of Mad Max. No. That's not us, by the way. We were being made fun of. I just wanted to clear that up. So, I think this is where I can detach this time. We all send our love to everybody, and we will be in contact. And if anything changes on the Isaac front, we will say. So, thank you. Okay, yeah, that was interesting. She was in a slight hurry to go there for some reason or other, but it's fairly peaceful there. And I did notice that, when I was researching this a little bit, yes, the lore says Lonulus is a jungle planet. That's like saying Earth is a jungle planet. Woodrow Derenberger didn't go into heavy descriptions of things. He just based it on where he was. There's Star Trek-like cities like New Ver that has like the Vegas type setting, you know about that part. And then you have a desertish area. He just called it the dry area. He didn't go into any detail. Then the rest was jungle. That's how he described it. So, and also his daughter described them as being from the future, is what Indrid Cold told her. But in all actuality, it was dimensional, and yes, could it be another timeline-ish like the 2194 one that we mentioned in GIC? Of course. But could there be a planet in a different time frame, and it's dimensional in nature, and you're through the interverse tunnel there? Of course it could, through the nesting tunnel. But we just don't understand the physics, and Indrid Cold wanted to make sure that the message to her was more direct. So he said certain things, and he said certain things to Woodrow that he didn't think they'd understand the physics. So that's how he said, and the reason he has to come in with a ship is because they can't use all the backdoor portals and stuff here. So that's what he was telling me at the time. So I just wanted to make sure that was said, and I did say that I would show what the shirt looked like here. So I don't know if you can see this. The back end of this is one of the GIC shirts with Poseidon and the mermaid and the beach setting. And this particular shirt, you see GIC.show at the bottom. That URL will never change. So even if the other does, and this that's the front with the logo on the front there. And if you go to thelifting.net and go to Galactic Fire, that is the tab that's on there. Scroll down, and you will see all the shirts we have available on there. We have moved most of the designs over there. Protection shirts, logos with the brand name on it, on all of them. And you will see this shirt with Poseidon and the mermaid with a Christmas hat on it with Christmas lights and a wreath. You will see that for the two ladies too. You'll see that for Elaine and Vessa with the Christmas hats on and the wreath type around it. Those are for Christmas. If you want those, please go for it. And we'll try next year to make Halloween ones and different other holiday-based ones as well. 4th of July, the whole bit. We'll try, not the same one. We'll get diverse in it. So at this point, Joanna, I don't know if you have anything else?
No.
Okay. So at this point, thank you everybody for watching this. I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you everybody. Bye-bye now. Okay. We're going to do a ghost box circle at this point in time. So I now open this circle, this ghost box circle, to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. I now do the law of one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. So therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only the highest good be done. I give thanks that it's done. So be it, and so it is. Now, the question I have, or questions, over on that side of the bed, by that crossword there, that Ramada by Wyndham, that's who was over there. Also in past hotel rooms, that's always from that side. Never this one, It's always that one. So, probably away from the ocean here, but was on that side because I was over there. That's probably why. So, I'm asking who this was. Was it alien or ghost? So, and the other question is the whole situation with Isaac and the other reasons why it was that dangerous, and things happening with friends and family. I will not specify, but I want to see the answer anyway. So, events, let's just say. So, all of this.
S-Box. Scanning. FM. Scanning my... Was the spot. Taking care of you. Just now.
Any messages from our benevolent entourages of this moment in time? Elaine, Vessa, Levick, etc. The numbering just passed 420 on the countdown here. Thank you. Alright, as I marked the 420 as it came up as I was looking at it, so I did that. So, we'll see what actually comes through on here. So, I will close off this Ghost Box session. Yes, we are in Nag's Head at the Ramada Wyndham. So, I will, that's North Carolina. So I will mark this. It is 9:01, or it is 9:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, I actually now have to close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. I close this ghost box circle within true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. It is 9:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, November 7th, 2025. Thank you. One thing I forgot to notate about the Djinn encounter, there's these fish-like beings in Valley of Fire. You see like the fish alcoves that are in Valley of Fire? That's actually a type of Djinn I thought was a myrrh. There's myrrh. All this has been associated with each other, with this. But some fire Djinn and water sprites are a type of Djinn. There's like, they look like little fish. So sometimes. Some look like little Hellboy-looking ones, and other ones look like the ones from Arabian Nights or Aladdin. So, with blue, red, and the red ones are considered to be the worst type, the more haunting, vicious type, and the blue ones are slightly the more passive. So, and more the lamp type that you saw, like Robin Williams' version in Aladdin, but the Disney movie. But the fish alcoves. We had a dream after coming from there, or Joanna had a dream where there was this, oh no, it wasn't her, it was me that had a dream of a fish being coming out from like a water alcove and slapping her. I thought this was one of the fish type, mermaid types you see in Aquaman, not the Aquaman with the fork or the trident, but the other fish looking one. That's what I thought it was. No, these were Djinn. So that's what that was meant by them being around. They're around that opening or alcove, the ancient doorway there, and some have gone into feral state, like the creatures of the trench, or the ones of the trench in Aquaman. And yes, there are cannibalistic mer as well that fall into that same category. So they've all been intermixed and mistaken for one another, like how some forest people are mistaken for dogmen and goat people and all these other cryptids, bear types. You get the idea. So if Isaac were here, he'd say they all look alike, but. Yeah, okay. So it is, at least the real one anyway. So it is 4:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Thank you. I do wish to point out for notoriety that we are in room 432. We had to move because there was no TV remote. And that's a 9. And the one that was across the way from us was 421. That's a 7. I wanted to point that out because that happened at a Holiday Inn we were at a while back, and that's when Roddenberry pointed out the number coding wasn't what people thought it was. It was more narrative based, and I thought I saw the 7 before, and I saw another one that was 430 that was near us, and that's a 7. But it's like, but yeah, it's odd that those come up, and you can't always take them at face value. It could be somebody dicking with you too. I just wanted to point that out. So it is 6:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, November 6th, 2025. Thank you. Okay, there was a incident here at night. Had this dream where I was in, night vision, like paranormal investigation night vision, like you'd see on Phasmophobia or any of those, or like any of the like the game whereas and like the ghost shows like Ghost Hunters and whatnot, or Ghost Adventures or any of those. And I remember before that being harassed mentally a little, but it was quiet, and having to shoo something off earlier in the evening, a bit after we recorded the show. And I remember in the dream being next to Joanna, and then putting my arm around her, and the green screen, but seeing it from a green screen, not green screen, from a night vision perspective, like I was seeing it through night vision goggles. And then I remember waking up going, ah! And then there was something in the room I had to get rid of. And it was a ghost. Elena this morning told me it was just some asshole. So, and Joanna has simultaneously had a dream of where there was somebody harassing her, and then he injected himself with something in his arm, and she's like, oh, you didn't get out of it what you thought you were going to get out of it. It was just like this tiny little bit, like we didn't give it a reaction. So the reaction that they wanted, or it was basically you didn't get the sample you wanted. So I'm thinking more alien in this instance, portraying as a ghost, or it could be ghost portraying as an alien. Maybe we do ghost box. Brought that along. So I will end this here. It is 8:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, November 7th,
2025. Thank you.